Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our public board meeting, Tuesday, May 16th. I'm going to call the meeting to order. All trustees are present, and is Trustee Leclerc on the phone at this point?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all here. Item C is approval of the agenda, and before I take a motion on that, I want to speak to item L6, the notice of motion from Trustee Chin. I was asked by some trustees if that motion was in order or not. So I did a deep dive on this because I wanted to be sure of what I'm telling you. So I first went to Robert's rules. So bear with me because I want to explain my rationale, because I am calling the motion out of order and I am going to explain why, and then you can do with what you will. So first I went to Robert's rules, which in part governs our board meetings, right? Okay, we all agree to that. So anyway, no main motion is in order that conflicts with the corporate charter, constitution, or bylaws. And to the extent that procedural rules applicable to the organization or assembly are prescribed by federal, state, or local law, no main motion is in order that conflicts with such rules. I think that's pretty clear, and the Education Act itself is very clear with regard to the distinction between operational jurisdiction, which is the director, and governance, which is the trustees. So that was my first resource. And we do, in fact, have an extensive guidelines with regards to how we select, reconsider, deselect, all of that, our library learning commons resources at the school level. We have a very detailed procedure, which for me substantiates that it's an operational matter. It is about 8 pages long, and it goes through all of it. It goes through the rationale, it goes through the responsibility, that it's the responsibility of the schools, ultimately the principal. There are guiding principles for how they select their materials. There's selection criteria that are supposed to be used. There's selection tools. The interesting thing for me was that the guidelines use our educated staff members who have specialties in library science or English, or or the principal who has extensive experience, and it also uses other resources that come from high standard literary organizations, and they're listed here. And it covers books that come in through donations and gifts, because we know they do. We know that there are different ways for materials to come in, but they still get vetted the same, and it's the principal's decision to let them in the door or not. And then there is a large section on requests for reconsideration of any of these materials. There's a whole process in place. There's a process for deselection and weeding of material, and there's criteria that has to be used for that, including content evaluation. And there's a long list of items under content evaluation. And then we come to the form that is available to anyone, any staff person, any member of the public, any parent who wants to request reconsideration for any of these learning resources. So the person, be it a parent or a staff person, can fill out the form. It asks, some relevant questions like, what is this? Is it a book? Is it a digital resource? What is it? The title, the author, the copyright date.
Point of order.
I'm
Point of
speaking.
order. Yeah.
There's no point to make. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. And then it asks. Says, please respond to the following questions. If there is not sufficient space, feel free to use additional sheets of paper. So it allows you to say everything you need to say. Did you review the entire resource? If not, what portions did you review? What do you object about this material? Please be as specific as possible and provide page numbers if appropriate. Number 3, what do you believe is the main purpose of this resource? Number 4, what do you feel might be the result if a student reads or uses this resource? And then it gets submitted to the school principal, which is the proper place. And then it goes from there to the superintendent of program. And then the resource, whatever it is, gets fully reviewed, which I think is somewhat duplication of the notice of motion, which to me makes the notice of motion redundant. The other thing is that I looked at, so it's the Roberts Rules guidelines. There is a process in place. And the last point I wanted to make is that in accordance with our bylaws, Article 10:30, is that an ad hoc committee is to deal with a specific matter. They meet a few times to deal with whatever that is. Then they submit a report to the board of their findings, and that report includes a recommendation to dissolve the committee of whatever their mandate was, because it has been fulfilled. It's like a one and done. It's a one item. You do it might take you 1 meeting, 10 meetings, whatever. It's one and done, and the ad hoc committee gets dissolved. And a good example is the recent ad hoc committee on transportation that we had. And I know Trustee Chin was a member of that committee. And they met, they made a report, they dissolved. And in this particular motion, I think it's a misuse of the purpose of an ad hoc committee. So I don't think that that's appropriate. So for all those reasons, I am ruling this motion out of order. And I forgot to bring a pen.
Here's a pen.
So
Whoever's phone that is, Denny, you turn it
thanks. So
on your phone.
is it on?
Somebody's phone is Denny.
Okay. So now I am ruling that L6 be removed from the agenda as being out of order. You don't need to. No, it's my ruling. Trustee Armstrong?
May I ask a question about this whole process? Not what you just did, about, you said that the student advisory councils can approach the principal themselves, like if the principals
Anybody can.
Sorry?
Anybody can?
Okay, but if there was a student advisory council who wanted to participate in what the motion was saying, is there anything that stops them from approaching the principal and say, listen, any new books that come in, can we just have a look first? Can they do that?
Ma'am,
Sorry.
point of order for
Yes.
this particular thing, please. I think there's an
Your point.
opportunity if you want to challenge the chair on the ruling.
No, I'm not challenging the chair.
Okay, but I think at this moment you've made a ruling, ma'am. Is that right? So at this point, you either challenge the chair or we accept it. And if you want to challenge the chair, you challenge it on grounds where the reasoning you just gave has some sort of loophole or, wrong advice or whatever.
Trustee Chin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to challenge your decision because since you already said a lot, and I think it's not a place for here to debate. And we do it's necessary to debate in the public meeting.
This is
And
a public meeting. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Trustee Chin.
it's not it's not right now to debate it, cause and I think we have surveillance, responsibility, and we do find that
Sorry.
Point of order.
Sorry, Trustee Chin, but, yeah,
Pardon?
okay. This is a public meeting. This is my right as chair to call that motion out of order before we approve the agenda, so that we know what the agenda is going to be for tonight's meeting. If you have the right to challenge my decision, okay? You leave it there and see if you need to have a seconder. So is there someone who would like to second that motion? Armstrong?
Are we seconding the motion of challenging the chair?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Trustee Chin, there's no seconder for the challenge. So my ruling remains. So L6 is off the agenda. And with that, I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda as just amended. Trustee Buckler, Trustee Burgess, all those in support of the amended agenda. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, that's carried. Now I need a motion to convene to private session, moved by Trustee McKinley, Trustee Buckler, all those in support? Any opposed? Thank you. We're recessed now into private session.